Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into the 8th chapter of the book of Joshua.
That's right, a pivotal chapter.
Our mission really is to unpack what the source material tells us happened here, the strategies, the specific instructions from the divine, and, well, the major outcomes.
Exactly. And it's fascinating because you see this blend of, human military tactics alongside very explicit divine commands. It all comes together here.
It really does, especially following the earlier failure at AI. This chapter shows a completely different successful approach. And then this sudden shift towards a major religious ceremony.
Yeah, the text lays out the battle plan, shows its execution, and then pivots straight to Mount Ebal. It's quite the sequence.
Okay, let's get into the source itself. It starts with the Lord speaking directly to Joshua. And the first words are crucial, aren't they? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged.
Absolutely crucial. Given what happened before, that reassurance sets the stage. It removes that potential hesitation.
Then comes the direct command. Take the whole army with you and go up and attack Ai.
And right away, there's this promise attached. For I have delivered into your hands the king of Ai, his people, his city, and his land. It's presented as a done deal, divinely speaking.
And comparing it to Jericho, there's a key difference regarding the spoils, the plunder.
Yes, the text says, do to Ai as you did to Jericho, except you may carry off their plunder and livestock for yourselves.
That's a huge shift from Jericho, where everything was devoted to destruction or the treasury.
It really is. It signals maybe a different phase of the conquest, different rules apply here, and the core strategy is also given right at the start.
The ambush.
Exactly. Set an ambush behind the city. That's the divine instruction for the how.
So Joshua gets the reassurance, the command, the promise, the ambush tactic, and the okay for plunder. How does the text say he puts this into action?
Well, he immediately gets the whole army moving. But for the ambush itself, he picks out, the source says, 30,000 of his best fighting men.
30,000. That's a significant force for the ambush part.
It is. And he sends them out at night. Stealth is key here.
And he gives them very specific orders, doesn't he? It's not just go hide.
No, very precise. Listen carefully. You are to set an ambush behind the city. Don't go very far from it. All of you be on the alert.
That don't go very far bit seems important. Close enough to react quickly.
Right. And then he explains the main part of the plan, the feigned retreat.
Oh, yes, the classic lure tactic.
He tells the ambush force that he and the main group will march towards Ai. They expect Ai to come out fighting, like last time.
And when they do,
Joshua's group will turn and deliberately flee from them toward the desert.
making A think, here we go again, easy victory, exploiting their confidence.
Exactly. And that apparent flight is the signal for the ambush force. Joshua tells them, so when we flee from them, you are to rise up from ambush and take the city.
And he connects it back to the promise.
Directly. The Lord your God will give it into your hand, reinforcing that divine backing.
What were they told to do once they actually took the city?
Burn it. When you have taken the city, set it on fire. Do what the Lord has commanded. See to it. You have my orders. Total destruction is the command there.
The text notes their position, between Bethel and A, to the west of A. And Joshua stays with the main force that night.
Yes, getting everyone set. Which brings us to the next morning when it all unfolds.
So morning comes. Joshua leads the main force towards A, camps north of the city. There's a valley in between.
Standard military positioning, setting up for the engagement.
But then the source mentions the ambush force size again, and it's different.
It does. Later in the narrative, it says Joshua had taken about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and A to the west of the city.
So first 30,000, then 5,000 is mentioned for the ambush. The text just presents both figures.
Yeah, it just includes both details as part of the setup. Interesting textual point.
But the key thing is the positioning. Main force north, ambush west.
And the source says Joshua himself went into the valley that night. Maybe scouting. Could be. Or final positioning. Either way, the trap is set. And the king of A, he completely falls for it.
Sees the Israelites, assumes it's round 2, and rushes out.
He and all his men, early in the morning, head out to a specific spot to meet Israel in battle. Crucially, the text emphasizes he did not know that an ambush had been set against him behind the city.
Totally unaware of the real danger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Israel plays their part perfectly. They let themselves be driven back and fled toward the desert. It looks just like the previous defeat.
And A goes all in on the pursuit.
Oh, completely. The source stresses this. All the men of A were called to pursue them. They pursued Joshua and were lured away from the city.
Leaving their city totally exposed.
Starkly put. Not a man remained in Ai or Bethel who did not go after Israel. They left the city open. A fatal, fatal error.
And that's the moment for the signal.
Yes. The Lord tells Joshua, "Hold out toward Ai the javelin that is in your hand, for into your hand I will deliver the city."
The javelin goes up.
Instantly, the men in the ambush rose quickly, rushed forward, entered the city, and captured it, and quickly set it on fire. Just like clockwork.
Imagine the scene for the men of Ai pursuing Joshua. They look back
And saw the smoke of the city rising against the sky. The text is blunt. They realized too late and had no chance to escape.
because the trap closes from both directions now.
Precisely. The main Israelite force that was fleeing turns back on their pursuers. They see the smoke, they know the plan worked.
And the ambush force comes out of the burning city.
So the men of Ai are suddenly caught in the middle, with Israelites on both sides. Nowhere to run.
A total pincer movement. The outcome.
Absolute, according to the source. Israel cut them down, leaving them neither survivors nor fugitives. Complete annihilation of the fighting force.
But there was one exception mentioned in the heat of battle.
Right. But they took the king of Ai alive and brought him to Joshua. He's singled out.
So moving to the aftermath. The battle itself is over, but the job isn't quite done.
No. The text confirms they hunted down and killed all the men of Ai who'd been pursuing them out in the fields in the desert.
Then they return to the city itself.
Yes. All the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it, any remaining inhabitants.
And the source gives a total number for the casualties.
It does. 12,000 men and women fell that day. All the people of Ai. The entire population.
That image of Joshua and the javelin comes back here too?
Yes, it says he did not draw back the hand that held out his javelin until he had destroyed all who lived in Ai. It really underscores his direct, unwavering role in carrying out the destruction as commanded.
And this time they did take the spoils.
Just as instructed. Israel did carry off for themselves the livestock and plunder of this city, as the Lord had instructed Joshua.
And the city itself, what was its fate?
Utter ruin. Joshua burned Ai and made it a permanent heap of ruins, a desolate place to this day. The language implies complete and lasting desolation.
And the king they captured alive.
His fate is described quite graphically. He was hung on a tree until evening. Then, at sunset, his body was taken down,
And then?
thrown down at the entrance to the city gate, and they piled a large heap of rocks over him, a sort of grim monument at the gate of the ruined city.
Wow. So that covers the entire military campaign against Ai: strategy, divine command, execution, total destruction. But then, as you said earlier, the chapter takes this sharp turn.
It really does. Immediately after detailing the destruction and the king's fate, the focus shifts completely away from warfare.
To Mount Ebal.
Yes, Joshua builds an altar there to the Lord, the God of Israel, just as Moses had commanded.
And the construction itself had specific rules from the law.
Very specific. An altar of uncut stones, on which no iron tool had been used. It had to be natural stones, just as prescribed in the book of the law of Moses. Strict adherence.
And they used this altar for worship.
Right away, they offered to the Lord burnt offerings and sacrificed fellowship offerings. Acts of worship, sacrifice, communion.
After the altar and offerings, there's another act involving the law.
Also significant, there, in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua copied on stones the law of Moses, which he had written, engraving the law visibly, publicly, on the land itself.
And then comes this incredible assembly for reading the law. The scale sounds immense.
It does. The text emphasizes all Israel, and it explicitly includes aliens and citizens alike, with their elders, officials, and judges. Everyone was there.
Gathered around the Ark of the Covenant, held by the priests.
Yes, standing on both sides of the ark. And the positioning of the people themselves is key.
Half facing Mount Gerizim, half facing Mount Ebal.
Exactly. Fulfilling that earlier instruction from Moses about blessings and curses. It's this huge, formal, national gathering.
And Joshua reads the law, not just parts of it.
No, the source is very clear. He read all the words of the law, the blessings and the curses, just as it is written in the book of the law. The whole thing.
And the audience is emphasized again at the end.
It really is. There was not a word of all that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the aliens who lived among them. It was a truly communal event, encompassing everyone.
So we journey in this one chapter from, well, a very calculated and brutal military destruction
To this
profound national moment of worship, writing down the law, and publicly recommitting to the entire covenant. It's quite a juxtaposition.
Thinking about the whole chapter then, what really strikes you? How do these pieces, the strategy, the divine element, the total war, and then this immediate turn to law and ritual, how do they seem to fit together in the source's narrative?
Well, what's striking is that the military victory, even one achieved with such clear divine help and strategy, isn't the final word. It's immediately followed by this grounding in the covenant, in the law. It suggests that the conquest is maybe instrumental, it clears the space, but the purpose is to establish this relationship with God under his law in the land. The destruction of Ai enables the assembly at Ebal. So the military success serves the religious and legal purpose according to the text's flow.
That seems to be the implication. Obedience to the law, the covenant relationship, that's presented as the ultimate foundation for life in the land they're entering.
It definitely reframes the conquest. Okay, here's something for you, our listener, to think about, drawn just from the details in this chapter. Consider the very close sequence we've just discussed. The text describes the utter destruction of Ai, men, women, children, the city burned to a permanent ruin. And then, almost in the next breath, it details the solemn assembly of all Israel, including women, children, and resident aliens, to hear the public reading of the entire law, the blessings and the curses on Mount Ebal. Within the logic of the source material itself, what might this stark pairing total judgment immediately followed by total covenant renewal and the reading of its terms suggest about the relationship between divine judgment, the responsibilities of the covenant, and Israel's future life in the Promised Land?